The silent colony captain, Sarah Chen, pressed her face against the viewport of the exploration vessel Horizon's Edge as the planet Kepler-4 for to be grew larger in the viewing screen. The world looked peaceful from orbit, with its blue oceans and green continents stretching beneath white clouds. But something was terribly wrong. The planet should have been bustling with activity from the 50,000 colonists who had settled there 5 years ago. Instead, her sensors showed nothing but silence. "Captain, we're receiving no response from New Terra colony," reported Lieutenant Commander Alex Morrison from the communications station. "All automated systems appear to be offline. No radio traffic, no energy signatures from the main settlement." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. New Terra had been humanity's most successful colony outside the Sol system. The colonists had sent regular updates for years, sharing news of their thriving agricultural districts and growing cities. Then, 3 months ago, all communication stopped. Earth had sent the Horizon's Edge to investigate, but Sarah had hoped they would find a simple technical problem, not this eerie silence. "Take us into orbit," she ordered. "Begin detailed scans of the primary settlement. I want to know what happened to those people." As the ship descended through the atmosphere, the mystery deepened. The cities were intact, but empty. Streets that should have been filled with people and vehicles stood deserted. Farms that should have been green with crops were overgrown with weeds. It was as if the entire population had simply vanished overnight. Dr. Elena Busquez, the mission's Z, studied the readings from her science station. "Captain, I'm detecting strange energy residue throughout the colony areas. The patterns are unlike anything in our databases." "This isn't natural," Sarah nodded grimly. "Prepare the landing shuttles. We're going down to investigate." The landing party consisted of Sarah, Dr. Vasquez, and a team of Marines led by Sergeant Tom Bradley. They touched down in the center of New Terra's main city, a place that had once housed 15,000 people. Now it was a ghost town, with doors standing open and personal belongings scattered in the streets as if people had been interrupted in the middle of their daily routines. "My God," whispered Dr. Vasquez as they walked through the empty streets. "It's like everyone just disappeared mid-sentence." They found the first clues in the Colonial Administration building. The main computer systems had been damaged by some kind of energy weapon, but Dr. Vasquez managed to recover fragments of data from backup drives. What they found made Sarah's blood run cold. The final entries spoke of strange ships appearing in the sky without warning. The colonists had tried to communicate with the alien vessels, but instead of responding, the ships had begun some kind of harvesting operation. The last entry, recorded by Colony Administrator Janet Murphy, was barely coherent. "They're taking everyone, the beams. They're loading people onto their ships like cargo. We tried to hide, but they have scanners that can see through anything. If anyone finds this, warn Earth. Tell them the Zephyrians are coming." "Zephyrians," Sarah repeated, looking at the scientist. "Have you ever heard of them?" Dr. Vasquez shook her head. "Never, but if they're abducting human colonies, Earth needs to know immediately." As they prepared to return to the ship, Sergeant Bradley's radio crackled to life. "Captain, we're receiving a weak signal from the northern mountains. It's human, but the transmission is heavily encrypted." Sarah's heart leaped. "Survivors, can you trace it?" "Already working on it, ma'am. Looks like it's coming from about 50 kilometers north of here, probably underground." The journey to the mountains took 2 hours by shuttle. The signal led them to what appeared to be a natural cave system, but as they descended deeper, it became clear that the caves had been modified and fortified. Hidden blast doors opened to reveal a complex underground facility where 3,000 colonists had managed to survive. Commander Jake Phillips, the colony's former security chief, emerged to greet them. His face was gaunt and his eyes haunted, but he was alive. "Thank God you came," he said, embracing Sarah. "We've been hiding down here for 3 months, afraid to go to the surface." In the shelter's main chamber, Jake told them the full story. The Zephyrian Empire had arrived without warning in ships that dwarfed anything humans had ever built. They had ignored all attempts at communication and had begun systematically harvesting the human population. Their technology was far advanced, with energy weapons that could stun entire city blocks and transport beams that could lift thousands of people at once. They weren't interested in our resources or our technology, Jake explained. They wanted us, the people. We managed to intercept some of their communications before our equipment was destroyed. From what we could translate, they harvest intelligent species from primitive worlds to use as slaves in their empire. Dr. Vasquez leaned forward. "How many colonies have they hit?" "From what we learned, dozens, maybe hundreds. They've been doing this for centuries, targeting species that are advanced enough to be useful, but not advanced enough to fight back effectively." Sarah felt anger building in her chest. They made a mistake when they chose humanity. Jake nodded grimly. "That's what we're hoping. We've been working on a way to get a message to Earth, but our long-range communications were destroyed in the first wave. We need to warn them that the Zephyrians will be coming for Earth next." "Don't worry," Sarah said. "We'll make sure Earth knows exactly what happened here." The return journey to Earth took 6 weeks, but Sarah used every minute to prepare her. Report. The evidence was overwhelming: alien technology fragments, survivor testimonies, and recovered data files that painted a picture of a systematic campaign of interstellar slavery. When the Horizon's Edge arrived at Earth, President Rebecca Torres was waiting with the full leadership of the United Nations. The briefing room in Geneva was packed with representatives from every nation on Earth. Sarah stood before them and told the story of New Terra's destruction, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was reporting. When she finished, the room was silent for a long moment. President Torres was the first to speak. "How long do we have?" "Based on the Zephyrian patterns we observed, probably 6 months," Sarah replied. "They seem to take time to process that harvested populations before moving on to the next target." "6 months to prepare for an interstellar war," murmured Defense Secretary Chen Wu, "against an enemy with technology we don't understand." "We understand enough," said Admiral Marcus Stone, the head of Earth's Unified Space Command. "We know they can be fought. The New Terra survivors proved that. They held out for 3 months with improvised weapons and tactics." President Torres stood up. "Ladies and gentlemen, we face the greatest threat in human history, but we also have the greatest opportunity. For the first time since the United Nations was founded, every nation on Earth has a common enemy and a common cause. I'm calling for the immediate implementation of the Terran Defense Initiative." The Terran Defense Initiative was a contingency plan that had been developed years earlier but never implemented. It called for the complete mobilization of Earth's industrial capacity for military production. Every nation would contribute according to their capabilities, with the goal of building a space fleet large enough to defend the entire solar system. Admiral Stone was given overall command of the military buildup. Within days, factories across the world were retooling their production lines. Automotive plants began building spacecraft engines. Electronics manufacturers started producing targeting systems and communication arrays. Mining operations expanded to provide the raw materials for ship hulls and weapons. But the most important resource was human ingenuity. Dr. Elena Vasquez led a team of scientists in reverse engineering the alien technology fragments they had recovered from New Terra. Working round the clock, they began to unlock the secrets of Zephyrian energy weapons, propulsion systems, and defensive shields. Their technology is advanced, but it's not magic. Dr. Vasquez reported to Admiral Stone after 2 months of intensive study. We can adapt our systems to counter their advantages. More importantly, we can improve on their designs. The breakthrough came when Dr. James Harrison, a theoretical physicist from MIT, discovered a way to enhance human fusion reactors using principles derived from Zephyrian power systems. The new reactors could produce 10 times more energy in the same space, making it possible to build ships that were both fast and heavily armed. Meanwhile, the survivors from New Terra were training Earth's military forces. Commander Jake Phillips worked with special forces units around the world, teaching them Zephyrian tactics and weaknesses. The aliens were powerful, but they were also overconfident. They had never faced serious resistance before, and that would be their downfall. The Zephyrians rely on intimidation and overwhelming force, Jake explained to a group of pilot trainees. They expect their enemies to surrender at the first sign of superior technology. But humans don't surrender. We adapt, we overcome, and we never give up. As Earth's defenses took shape, intelligence reports began arriving from other parts of the galaxy. The Zephyrians had indeed harvested dozens of other species, but none had ever mounted an effective resistance. Most civilizations either surrendered immediately or were destroyed so quickly that they never had a chance to fight back. Captain Sarah Chen, now promoted to Rear Admiral, was put in charge of the reconnaissance fleet. Her mission was to locate Zephyrian staging areas and gather intelligence on their fleet movements. What she discovered was both terrifying and encouraging. They have approximately 200,000 ships in their harvesting fleet, she reported to the War Council. That sounds like a lot, but most of them are transport vessels designed for moving prisoners, not warships. Their actual combat fleet is much smaller, maybe 50,000 vessels. And how many ships will we have? Asked President Torres. Admiral Stone smiled grimly. If current production continues, we'll have 800,000 vessels ready within 6 months. The Zephyrians are about to learn that they picked the wrong species to mess with. The final weeks of preparation were intense. Earth's orbital shipyards worked around the clock, launching new vessels faster than anyone had thought possible. The ships were different from anything humans had built before, sleek, deadly, and designed specifically for combat against an alien enemy. Each ship was equipped with the latest in human and adapted alien technology. The weapons could punch through Zephyrian shields, the engines could outmaneuver their ships, and the armor could withstand their energy attacks. But most importantly, each ship was crewed by humans who had a personal stake in the coming battle. As the deadline approached, long-range sensors detected the Zephyrian fleet approaching the outer solar system. They came in the same formation. They had used at New Terra a massive group of ships designed to intimidate and overwhelm. But this time, they were in for a surprise. The Battle of Seoul was about to begin, and humanity was ready. The Terran Armada Fleet Admiral Chen Wei stood on the command bridge of the massive dreadnought Terra's Wrath, watching the tactical displays. As the Zephyrian fleet approached the outer solar system, The alien formation was impressive, stretching across space like a dark cloud of metal and energy. But Chen Wei had seen the intelligence reports. He knew that behind their intimidating numbers lay a force that had never faced real resistance. "All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Chen Wei," he announced over the quantum communication network that connected all 800,000 human vessels. "Today we make history. Today we show the galaxy that humanity cannot be harvested like wheat. Today we fight for every human who ever lived, and every human who ever will live." The response came back from across the fleet: "For humanity, for Earth, for our future." The Zephyrian fleet, led by Grand Admiral Zexkar, approached with the same arrogant confidence they had shown at dozens of other worlds. Zexkar had personally overseen the harvesting of 17 different species, and humans were supposed to be just another primitive race to be collected and enslaved. "Begin standard intimidation protocol," Zexkar ordered his fleet. "Deploy the harvesting ships in collection formation. These humans will surrender when they see our true power." But as the alien fleet entered the solar system, they found something they had never encountered before. Instead of cowering on their home planet, the humans had come out to meet them. The space around Earth was filled with human warships, more vessels than the Zephyrians had ever seen in one place. "Admiral," reported the Zephyrian tactical officer, "we're detecting approximately 800,000 human vessels. This is ... unprecedented." Zexkar's confidence wavered for a moment. "Impossible. Our intelligence indicated they were a primitive species with limited space capability." "The readings are confirmed, sir. They appear to have mobilized their entire civilization for war." On the human side, Dr. Elena Vasquez was monitoring the alien fleet from her position aboard the science vessel Discovery. Her team had spent months studying Zephyrian technology, and now they were about to put their knowledge to the test. "Admiral Chen Wei, this is Dr. Vasquez," she reported. "Their lead ships are charging their intimidation weapons. These are designed to disable entire planetary defense grids, but we've developed countermeasures." "Understood, Doctor. All ships, activate the Vasquez protocol." Across the human fleet, defensive systems powered up. The countermeasures were based on Dr. Vasquez's analysis of Zephyrian weapon frequencies. Instead of being disabled by the alien intimidation attack, the human ships would actually absorb the energy and convert it to boost their own power systems. Zexkar fired the intimidation barrage, expecting to see the human fleet go dark as their systems were overwhelmed. Instead, the human ships glowed brighter as their reactors absorbed the alien energy. The surprised Zephyrian admiral watched in shock as 800,000 human vessels began moving toward his fleet in perfect formation. "What is this?" Zexkar demanded. "How are they still operational?" Captain Maria Santos, commanding the dreadnought New Terra's Revenge, opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian fleet. Her voice was calm but filled with cold determination. "Vessels, this is Captain Santos of the Terran Defense Fleet. You are guilty of genocide against the human colonies. You have enslaved and murdered innocent people. We are here to ensure that you never do it again." Zexkar laughed, his translator rendering the sound as a harsh grating noise. "Primitive species, you cannot threaten the Zephyrian Empire. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We have harvested 100 species. You are nothing but insects to be collected." "You're wrong," Maria replied. "We're not insects, we're humans. And we're here to show you the difference." The battle began with a coordinated human assault unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The 800,000 human vessels moved with perfect precision, their quantum communication network allowing them to function as a single massive organism. The Zephyrians, despite their technological advantages, had never faced an enemy that could coordinate on such a scale. Commander Jake Phillips, now serving as tactical advisor to the fleet, watched from the command ship as the human forces engaged the enemy. Remember, he broadcast to all vessels, they rely on intimidation and overwhelming force, but they've never fought an enemy that fights back with everything they have. The human ships were smaller than the Zephyrian vessels, but they were faster and more maneuverable. They swarmed around the alien fleet like angry wasps, their weapons targeting the weak points that Dr. Vasquez's team had identified. The Zephyrians found themselves fighting a battle they had never trained for against an enemy they had never imagined. General Patricia Kumar led the boarding operations from her assault ship Liberation. Her Marines had been trained by the new Terra survivors, and they knew exactly how to fight in the close-quarters environment of Zephyrian ships. As human forces breached the alien hulls, they found something that made their blood boil. Thousands of humans from other colonies held in slave conditions in the transport ships. "All units, this is General Kumar," she announced. "We've found prisoners, lots of them. These ships are full of our people. Change of priorities. Capture these vessels intact. We're bringing our people home." The tide of battle turned rapidly. The Zephyrians, accustomed to easy victories against unprepared enemies, found themselves outgunned and outmaneuvered by human forces that had spent 6 months preparing for this exact scenario. Their formation began to break apart as human ships penetrated their defensive lines. Admiral Chen Wei coordinated the overall battle from his command position, watching as human forces systematically dismantled the Zephyrian fleet. "Dr. Harrison, are the new weapons performing as expected?" Dr. James Harrison, monitoring the battle from his research vessel, nodded with satisfaction. "Better than expected, Admiral. The enhanced fusion warheads are punching through their shields like paper, and the adaptive targeting systems are working perfectly." The Zephyrian Grand Admiral Zexkar watched in growing horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart. Ship after ship was destroyed or captured, and the humans showed no sign of slowing down. This was supposed to be a simple harvesting operation, not a catastrophic defeat. "Signal the reserve fleet," he ordered desperately. "We need reinforcements." But the humans had anticipated this. Admiral Sarah Chen, now commanding the deep space reconnaissance fleet, had been tracking Zephyrian movements for months. When the alien reinforcements arrived, they found human forces already waiting for them. Zephorian reinforcements. "This is Admiral Chen of the Terran fleet," she announced. "Your main force has been destroyed. You have one chance to surrender and avoid the same fate." The Zephyrian reinforcement commander, Admiral Kasathak, was more experienced than Zexkar and recognized the tactical situation. His forces were outnumbered 10-1, and the humans had already demonstrated their ability to defeat superior Zephyrian technology. "Terran vessels, we... We surrender," came the reply. "We yield to your superior forces." The Battle of Seoul lasted 18 hours and ended with the complete defeat of the Zephyrian harvesting fleet. Of the 200,000 alien vessels that had entered the solar system, fewer than 10,000 escaped. The rest were either destroyed or captured, along with nearly 1 million human prisoners who had been taken from colonies across the galaxy. President Torres addressed the world from the United Nations building as the last of the alien vessels was secured. Today, humanity has faced its greatest challenge and emerged victorious. We have shown the galaxy that we are not a species to be harvested or enslaved. We are a species to be respected and feared. But the victory was just the beginning. The captured Zephyrian ships contained star charts and intelligence data that revealed the location of the alien empire's core worlds. Admiral Stone studied the information with growing determination. They have 15 major worlds and dozens of mining colonies, he reported to the War Council. Their total population is approximately 50 billion, with a significant portion being enslaved species from other worlds. "What are you recommending?" asked President Torres. "Operation Reclamation," Stone replied. "We use our fleet to liberate every enslaved species in Zephyrian space. We dismantle their empire completely and ensure they can never threaten anyone." Again, the decision was unanimous. The human fleet, now reinforced with captured Zephyrian vessels and armed with complete intelligence on the enemy empire, set out for alien space. The liberated humans from other colonies joined the fleet, eager to free their fellow prisoners and strike back at their captors. The campaign lasted 2 years and became known as the Great Liberation. Human forces struck at Zephyrian worlds with the same precision and coordination they had shown at Earth. But instead of destroying civilian populations, they focused on military targets and liberation operations. Captain Santos, now promoted to Admiral, led the liberation of the primary Zephyrian world. Her forces found millions of enslaved beings from dozens of species, all held in conditions that would have been unthinkable on Earth. The liberation operation was massive, requiring the coordination of hundreds of ships and thousands of personnel. "This is Admiral Santos to all liberated beings," she announced as the prison facilities were opened. "You are free. The Zephyrian Empire is finished. We are here to help you return to your worlds or find new homes if you wish." The response was overwhelming. Species that had been enslaved for generations wept with joy as they realized their captivity was over. Many chose to join the human fleet, adding their knowledge and skills to the liberation effort. Ambassador David G. Clark, leading the diplomatic cause, worked to establish relations with the freed species. "We're not here to build an empire," he explained to the newly liberated beings. "We're here to ensure that no species ever suffers what you have suffered. Together, we can build a galaxy where freedom is protected and slavery is impossible." The final battle came at the Zephyrian capital world of Zephdar. The planet's defenses were formidable, but they were designed to keep enslaved populations in, not to keep liberating fleets out. The human forces, now numbering over 1 million ships from dozens of species, overwhelmed the planetary defenses within hours. The surrender ceremony was held in the great arena where the Zephyrians had once held gladiatorial contests between enslaved beings. Admiral Chen Wei stood before the assembled Zephyrian leadership, his words broadcast across the galaxy. "The Zephyrian Empire is dissolved," he announced. "Your military forces are disbanded. Your enslaved populations are free. You will be given a single world to live on, under supervision, to ensure you never threaten anyone again." The former Grand Admiral Zexkar, now a prisoner himself, looked up at the human admiral with something approaching respect. "How is this possible? You were primitives. You had no space empire, no great fleet." Chen Wei smiled grimly. "You're right. 6 months ago, we were just farmers and scientists and teachers. But you made one critical mistake." "What mistake?" Zek asked. "You threatened our children. You enslaved our people. You attacked our families. When you do that to humans, you don't get a primitive species that surrenders. You get 8 billion humans who will build 1 million warships and cross the galaxy to make you pay for what you did. The aftermath of the Great Liberation transformed the galaxy. The freed species formed the Galactic Freedom Alliance, with Earth as its founding member. The alliance was dedicated to preventing the rise of another enslaving empire and to protecting the rights of all sentient beings. Dr. Elena Baskis, now Director of Xenological Studies, established research centers throughout the galaxy where species could share knowledge and technology. We're not just freeing enslaved beings, she explained. We're creating a galactic community where everyone can contribute and benefit. The human fleet, once built for war, was converted to exploration and protection duties. Ships that had been designed to destroy the Zephyrian Empire now patrolled the galaxy, ensuring that no species would ever again suffer the fate of the harvested colonies. Commander Jake Phillips, the last survivor of New Terra's leadership, stood on the observation deck of the Memorial, a ship dedicated to honoring those who had died in the Zephyrian attacks. Through the viewport, he could see the new city of New Terra, rebuilt on the same world where his colony had been destroyed. They would be proud, he said, thinking of the 47,000 colonists who had died in the original attack. They would be proud to know that their sacrifice led to the liberation of millions. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. When you threaten humanity, you don't get a primitive species that surrenders. You get a species that will build 1 million warships and cross the galaxy to ensure that justice is served. The Zephyrian Empire was gone, but the human spirit of determination and protection would endure forever. Earth had answered the call, and the galaxy was forever changed. Asterisk.